Okay, so a while back I put up a video of how I was going to build my pipe fence, and I was real proud of it. I was going to have all my ends cut at 45s like this, and then all welded back together with another one coming in. I mean, y'all can go see the video. I think it's building pipe fence part 2 or something, but regardless, I changed my mind after that, because to cut every single piece of pipe at the 45s like this, each one of my posts, in effect, would have then been made up of 4 to 5 12 to 16 inch long pieces, depending on how far apart I wanted to space my laterals. And so it was going to make things, not that it would have made it any worse really. I mean, the amount of welds would be about the same, the amount of cuts would have been a lot more, but it would have made assembling the posts in place, I think, a little more difficult. I think I would have ended up with a lot of really crooked and twisted posts. So anyway, the reason I was going to do this was because I could not wrap my head around how to make a coping cut, how to make, you know, the end of the pipe here fit around this pipe here. Now obviously that doesn't work, right? And a piece of flat ended pipe, if you were to take, say, the flat end here and try to put that up against there, that doesn't fit. Now it's kind of close, but you know, there's a big old gap there, right? It doesn't work. So what I needed was a coping cut. This was my first attempt at a coping cut. Now, I am no welder, pipe fitter, nothing. I'm just a redneck with a torch and chop saw. That took me a long time to think out, draw out, and then just cut all to bits with my torch. And the end product really was not that bad. I mean, it really fits together okay, but it looks really nasty and it took me a really long time. So finally, lo and behold, a fella commented on my last video and he said, "Oh, that looks really cool." The video about how I was going to make all the cuts like this. He said, "Oh, that looks really cool. Let us know how it goes." Off to the side of that video, courtesy of YouTube, I have a whole bunch of recommendations. The first 2 or 3 of which were all how to make a coping cut, which is exactly what I needed to know. I could not for the life of me wrap my head around how I was going to make this cut by making square cuts. And courtesy of those other videos, and just like I said in my very first video ever, I'm making this video to give back to YouTube. Hopefully the message gets out there to more people that are looking how to make a coping cut. You set to do this. I use my chop saw here on the floor. I've set my miter at 30 degrees, and then with your pipe in there, you want to line up on it. And see, I put my purple mark on there. That's my center line, which I just eyeballed. But you want to line up here, and you want to bring your blade down such that it's not quite centered. I just threw that in there, but you know, you kind of, like I said, eyeball it. It'll take a little bit of practice to figure out and get quick at it, but bring it down to where you're not quite, you don't want to be on center, because if you are, you'll have a point. Now that's not necessarily bad, but you don't need a point, because this pipe, you know, when it fits up against the other one, it doesn't really come to a point. So I've left, it looks like about a 1/2 inch, I think, of flat, and just lopped an ear off each side. So when you bring it down and make your cuts, you end up with these little tiny slivers, which are sharp as all get out, so be careful and throw them away somewhere safe as quick as you can so a dog doesn't step on them, or God forbid you step on them, or a kid or something. But anyway, the resultant product is, looking down on top there, the 2 cuts, and mine aren't even square here. Again, this is just the first piece. I'm just excited and wanted to share with you. And when you look at it from this side, again, you see that kind of same valley as I did with these pointed cuts here, but that's a lot shallower of an angle. And when we put this up against a piece of pipe, it fits pretty doggone good. You can see I've still got a little bit of experimenting to do with it, since my cuts weren't square here. Which, if you look at that, that's not, you know, lining up square, but since my cuts aren't perfectly square, I need to build me a jig so I can do it quick and easy. But it's pretty good. It fits up pretty well. You can see just a little gap down there, but that's certainly something that can be filled with weld wire, no problem. So anyway, like I said, just wanted to share. If y'all have comments on the exact details or questions, that's fine. I'll do my best to answer it. Again, I am not an old pipe fitter. I just had, you know, a little bit of shop class in high school, learned how to use a torch and saw and everything else, and now I'm taking on this massive task of building a, the first fence is 400 feet long, but overall I'll have close to 1.5 miles worth of pipe fence. Now, only the front 400 feet along the road will be all solid pipe. The rest of it I plan on doing pipes for the posts and then set with cables. But anyway, I guess what I was explaining earlier, by doing the coping cuts like this, instead of doing all 45s like this, my posts now, I can still set solid posts. So I'm setting 7.5 foot posts, so 2.5 feet deep in the ground, maybe 5 foot above. So that way I'm going to have to cut all my posts up into little bits and pieces and then re-weld them back together. Making a lot less cuts. It's about the same amount of welding, just because when you figure you've got, this coping connection here, and you got your cope connection on the other side, right? You're still going to have a big long weld, just about as much as you would have if you were welding together, 45s all the way up. So anyway, maybe y'all can wrap your head around it, but I was baffled, honestly. I tend to overthink things, I think, and overcomplicate them. And so when I saw the simplicity of how to make a coping cut using a bandsaw or a chop saw, just how to make an effectively rounded cut with a square blade, I couldn't wrap my head around it. And now I have. So I just want to share with everybody. Hopefully if anybody else is out there kind of doing the same project, hope it helps. Like I said, if you have questions or comments, by all means let me know. I'd appreciate it, and I'll do my best to answer your questions.